think most everybody knows me, Brad Grossman.
And project to
Yes, but what I want to do here, just before we get started, before I introduce Courtney to you and our other special guests, is to give you just a little bit about my experience with this and why I personally am excited about REVEL. And I just need to give just a little bit of history, but I think most of us in here, if we were to be asked the question, how well are the students reading the text? What would you say, thumbs up or thumbs down? Okay, that's what I thought. So, I think we're all on the same page with that. So when Wayne and I went searching for an alternative of something that we just want something to capture them, or at least have them get into the text so that they'll have a better chance come quiz time or finals or midterms, we came upon REVEL. We looked at quite a few other options. I didn't see any of them that really came close to REVEL for these reasons. Number one, it's embedded in the text. I'm just going to do it my best way. So they have to go, it's like e-text. They're reading the chapters, then after each section of each chapter, they have what's considered, I'll call them module quizzes. Real brief, 3-4 question kind of quizzes to test their knowledge on that specific section. Then, at the end of each chapter, you also have a list of questions, I'm going to say 15 to 20 questions on that chapter that they also have to answer, and that is recorded within their REVEL performance, which I'll show you just real quick on how you do that. So, here's all I can tell you. We're almost 2 weeks out from the semester being over, and I have seen a significant difference on this. Okay, I'm not saying every student will get, all of them are getting A's. I'm not going to stand up here and lie to you, but here's what I will tell you that's different, is I don't remember having better discussions in class than I've had this past semester. And what I mean by that is, there's no doubt in my mind they're reading more of the material because of some of the responses. Now, if I only had one class, but I have other classes that I'm hearing more than just the great student. You know, you have those some students, they always want to talk like Horseshack. Well, these, I'm seeing some phenomenal responses. So let me just show you real quick. Courtney will go into the details, and this will make sense as we rewind a little bit. But here's what it would look like. This is just my intro class with the REVEL. I put it here in the menu so they can just click on their REVEL homework. They just click on Open REVEL. Hopefully this will work, which it should. This is what they're going to have. It should be up on Chapter 13. We're going to be discussing juvenile justice system this next week. You pretty much will put in the dates. I always give them a week in advance, so how I've set my class up, and again, I'm just telling you what I've done. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm just giving you a template, so if anybody ever wants to use my class, you're more than welcome to. But I give them a week prior to us discussing it. For example, this class right here, on Monday morning, or Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock, we'll be meeting to discuss juvenile justice. They know they have, from last Monday at 2 p.m., till this time, to have gone through the juvenile justice, whether it's the intro, you'll see these 9 points, 9 points. These are those module quizzes that I pointed out previously, which leads all the way to final. Their Chapter 13 quiz is worth 16 points. Now, this just gives you an idea. So when they come there, I have an idea. I can click on the performance, which I'll show you in a second, and be able to see how many of the students really even did the quiz. So that if some students are standing there, and I've done that, I've taken them to the side before and said, what kept you from doing the homework this past week? And they kind of look at you, and this guy's actually onto this. I noticed 4, and I'll show you in a second. I love the fact that it shows how much time they spend on it, because I'm seeing a very distinct or a direct correlation from those students that are spending 2 or 3 hours, which you really should be spending at least that much time in a week to answer all this material and to read it correctly, to those that are spending 8 minutes. Okay, and let's see. So this is how it would look. So they go in, they just simply start there, but let me just show you what it would look like here. Right here's how it would start out. Okay, for the juvenile justice. Now you get to tailor. Your PowerPoints are the same. They're pretty much generic, and you can add to them just like you would normally. They give you the images. You also get a PowerPoint full of all different images. You can still put your videos in and so forth. And you advance. I'm not going to go into much more detail there, but I want to go back. to this. This is probably one of my favorite points, is performance, okay? So I go in here, here's how they've been doing. You can see right from the very beginning how many students, of the 23 students, I've had one's out on a health kind of thing. I'm hoping she may come back. But you can see how they're doing. Not perfect, they're not all in the 90s. Why is that? Well, you could probably put it in such a way and arrange it, and I should probably wait for that, right, as far as assigning scoring. But I give them more than one opportunity or chance on the module quizzes, okay? So they get a couple attempts. However, on the chapter quiz, I give them one, because I want to hold them accountable a little bit, because otherwise they can play the game, hey, I'm gonna roll the dice on this, and they could get 100%. Well, that's not teaching them anything. So I've found this so far, do the module quizzes, read the material, but then you get one chance to final. So as you can see right here, we're on Saturday. This is usually the case. Only 4 of the 23 have even done it so far of juvenile justice. I usually see the majority of them will be doing it tonight and tomorrow, and even Monday morning, which I can't change that. But here's what I also like, is I can go in here for, let's just say, corrections in the community. Oh, and let me just say this. You'll see that one was the highest I had all semester. I don't know if it was totally the reason, but I put out a goatee challenge to my students and said, if you guys average 80% per each student, I'm shaving this off in class. But just to try to give them something, and I'm telling you, every one of them, I think it's probably going to come off this next week. They said, are you going to do that again? And then of course they wanted to know, will you shave off half of it? So, anyway, so whatever you need to do, but here's what I like about this. You can actually go into individual students. So for corrections in the community, community-based corrections last week, this was one of the better ones. I don't know if it's a goatee challenge or what, doesn't matter. This girl had to drop. But you can go in here, you can see how much time they spent. See here? So I scroll down these, quite a few, but you see the range is pretty good. Like this girl here, I've talked to her numerous times, 6 minutes. And I don't know, I guess Courtney, that would be the one I would think. She really struggles. I don't know how in the world she got 67% after spending 6 minutes. So anyway, that's time for another. Maybe someone else could explain that one to me. But this performance, again, you go back here, you can see overall too how the students are doing at this point. And we'll get into grade book later, and I'll tell you how this here, you don't have to do any other work except anytime you want to know, let's see, how is the class doing? And you can start drilling down, and then I love this trend. I can go in here at any time and go, ooh, got a lot of them trending down. Of course, I know why that is. It's because they're already into, I believe, chapter 13. This is just me guessing. So that's already trending down because only 2 out of the 23, or 4 out of the 23 have even started the juvenile justice. So, Courtney, is there any, oh, and let me just say this one. Table of contents. Here's what I think all of you will really like, because I love going into these as well, is depending, let's say we go back to my community-based corrections, or here's one for Bernie, steps in the trial process. There's actually simulations that they can use, that you can bring up. This is one I actually like using. It's with prosecutor. I tell them, okay, you guys are going to be a prosecutor today, and what I'm going to have you do is you're going to take a case, and you're going to tell me how you would prosecute this, or you're going to maybe even say, what kind of sentence would you give this individual based on they're arrested for their 3rd DUI, etc. But it's, I love that. I love their e-flashcards that I can use at the end of the chapter. They love challenging each other, you know, just to help them learn the terminology, I think has been critical. So the videos in here are really good. Here's one that the students never had before. I've heard a lot of feedback, audio. Now, I would have never wanted to just sit and listen to someone read to me. That is the most popular thing that I've heard feedback-wise from the students, is being able to sit there. Yeah, I didn't want to just sit there and read, but I don't mind when I'm there and listening to the audio read the text to me. whatever it takes. You know, that works fantastic, so that's one other thing I've heard. Courtney, can you think of anything else? Like me to...
I think that's a great start, and we'll go keep moving along, and if something comes up,
Okay.
we can talk about it.
So here's Courtney Williams. She's of Pearson. Here's all I can tell you. How many people have worked with Courtney at all? Well, I don't mean to embarrass her. Yes, you have. But she's phenomenal. And I don't mean to embarrass her, and she's very humble, and she wouldn't want me to say it. I guarantee if you have any questions about this material at any given time, she's unbelievably responsive, very patient, and she will always find somebody to get the answer. That's what I found in working with her this past year. You can't go wrong. She helped me with my CJ lab, and then with this REVEL project. Makes it so much easier because, and I'll just give this one. There was a time where I don't understand how to do such and such in REVEL. Next thing I know, I had a video, a YouTube video of her showing me exactly how to do this and manipulate it within the system. That's the best service I've ever seen. So anyway, thanks for the job.
Thank you for saying that, and thank you everyone for having me here today. It's a pleasure to partner with your campus. Working with all of you individually, Brad and Wade. We work with a lot of faculty. I covered 20 different schools, and I will definitely say you guys are some of the best around. I really, really appreciate you. The first thing I want to do is I have some special people in the back of the room. So 2 of my colleagues from Pearson, and if you open up your agenda, you'll see on the second page we have some Pearson team here. Myself, Courtney, and my contact information is there. I'll be your first line of support. If you have questions, I may pass along to our tech support or our customer success representative, but this is their team. And then 2 people today from my team in the Chicago area volunteered their time today. They have different roles at different schools. Matt Engler is our regional trainer and also a local representative. Robert Morris, right, is also using this technology, and he's really equipped with it, and actually connected Brad with an instructor who is teaching there what Brad was first exploring the products. Deb is our product specialist in the area and has been with Pearson 18 years, so she definitely has lots of experience in technology experience and extremely, extremely knowledgeable. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is just go over briefly our agenda for today. I like structure. I like to know what you're going to get out of the time we have together. So we have basically 7 areas we're going to cover, and then we're going to have at the end a REVEL breakout session. And this is for you to actually start getting into the product and working on the areas so that way our Pearson team can be here and help you out. That's why I've asked Matt and Deb to come today, is that way when you're working, we have 3 people you can come to your desk individually and help you walk you through steps. Brad just covered the why REVEL part. We're going to go into getting started, kind of how to navigate, log in. Then we'll talk about a really easy 3-step process on how to create an assignment. We'll talk about the course settings, and we'll show you what Brad did for his course settings. We'll do a little bit of gradebook best practices. Karen kind of covered that as well in conjunction with Blackboard. We'll talk about your students registered and then just extra resources. So, let's go through that. Again, here is our team that are with us today. And then I also am someone who likes to begin with the end in mind. So the end goal for us is, you guys all know as officers, people in the field, your badge represents training, your badge represents being able to do your job well. So today our goal is to kind of get you a REVEL badge in a sense that we're going to get you training in order to make your job easier, to be more engaging for the students and more effective. And my goal is to really make this as simple and easy for you as possible, because I know as instructors you have a lot of different technology on your plate, a lot of aspects go into teaching, and this is something to help you and not get in the way of you teaching but to make your teaching experience better, more meaningful, and relevant and engaging. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the product. So to start off with, I wanted to point out, getting started here, all of you should have your username and password on the top right-hand side of your folder. You will go to www.pearsonhighered.com/revel to sign in initially. We will be, after this training, be sending out videos on how to integrate with Blackboard, but because your course shells are not yet available, we wanted to make that a just-in-time training and video that you could access really easily. So you'll go to this page initially to register, and then you'll sign in with that username and password. It was also sent to you via email yesterday, so that way if you lose that folder, you can always look it up. Okay, we do need to make sure we allow pop-ups. And you're welcome to sign in and follow along. Just know that if you have questions, if you have questions later, we'll be able to handle that in our one-on-one breakout session. So that username and password is actually going to be different if you have used my CJ Lab in the past. It's going to be a little slightly different username and password because we've actually went ahead and loaded some courses into your account for you. So we'll give everyone a second. If anybody who wanted to sign in wasn't able to sign in?
I think I went to the wrong page.
So just do the or if you're having trouble signing in, if you're with the URL, just do a quick Google search REVEL, and it should be the first thing that pops up. So if you just want to search for REVEL, it should be the first thing that pops up.
I want to help you out.
Yeah. So if you just actually search for REVEL.
Pearson, that space, RE.
Just do Pearson.
Courtney, what is that login again? She can help you with that login. You want to help with the person?
No, sorry.
But you gotta make it look so easy.
Oh, okay.
So if you just do, sorry, I went really fast on the URL. You can just search REVEL, and you should be able to find that login page. So go ahead and click this right here. Yep. And click always allow pop-ups. Some of you guys are getting pop-ups, so you'll just want to make sure you allow those pop-ups. The pesky pop-ups are really okay. And then your username and password right there.
It's not what we're here for, Tony.
I know you're a big fan, but.
Instructors for that. I don't understand the fire science product yet, so it might not be relevant to what you're teaching. We can set you up with one on this today if you want to do that.
Oh, there's no meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'll make a comment. Thank you.
There we go.
All right, is everyone? You guys are. A few people are signing in still.
So we got my current class.
So one thing I do want to point out is that our preferred browser is Firefox or Google Chrome. If you did sign into Internet Explorer for today, that's fine. I just wanted to say going forward, those are our two preferred browsers. And the other thing about browsers that you might want to just remember is that we do sometimes get blocks from the pop-ups on the top right screen. So if something comes up on your screen, just go up to that top right side of your browser. It's a little red box and enable pop-ups, just like any kind of normal process. Okay, so while my colleagues are kind of helping people sign in, I'm going to go ahead and open up our training course. So you should already have the course loaded into your account that you're going to be teaching, or multiple courses loaded into your account that you're going to be teaching for the fall. To enter the course, you just click into the name of the course. And then you're going to have this home screen right here. So I want to go over first just an overview of what these areas are on the screen. Do you have a question?
He's teaching criminal procedure, not criminal.
I'm teaching criminal law right now.
Okay.
So
And
I'm loaded in
procedures.
criminal law right now.
We can definitely fix that. So let me backtrack one step. So we did load your courses into your account for you, but it's very easy for you to do that if you want to add in another course, or maybe you switch courses from what you thought you were teaching. You just click the search for materials and then navigate to criminal justice. And then those courses will be located there. You just click into the course, and then it's going to take you straight through the prompts. You'll click create course,
Yeah, that's it.
go through the prompts, create a name. It's a very simple process. Okay? So I'm going to go back out to where we were and kind of go in. So that's a quick note for you guys. You can create, copy your own courses just for this fall. We've already done that process for you. Okay. So on this left-hand navigation screen, I'm just going to go ahead and walk through what these different tabs are. So the first one is assignments. That's where you as an instructor will create an assignment, or the students will take the assignment. Performance, which was what Brad was talking about, is the grade book, where you and the students will look at the grades. Highlights and notes. So like Brad talked about, this does function as an e-text. So just like any other e-text, you can highlight and take notes. You as an instructor can also push your notes out to students so they can see what you're highlighting and taking notes on. For example, if there's something you think is really important or that they're going to be tested on, you can highlight it, take a note, and say, study this for your final. The table of contents is just like any other book. Table of contents, it takes them through the chapters. Glossary is the terms. And then resources will be things like PowerPoints, instructor materials. They're going to be all embedded into here, easy for you to download and use. So that kind of covers the getting started part of our agenda. So we're going to move into how to create an assignment. So I like to remember 3 steps on how to create an assignment, a 3-step process. First is select the content. Second is set a due date. And third is publish. So 1, 2, 3, select content, select due date, publish. So you can see here on this assignment page, for some of you guys, it might show you a box that says get started, just because that's the first time you're opening up the course, and it will walk you through the process. But an easy way to remember is just click select content here from the top of the page. So that's step 1. Now once you've clicked select content, it will take you into these the chapter contents, where you can actually select the content.
Courtney,
Yeah.
you might want to make sure everybody's at that same
Yeah,
level.
yeah, of course. So let's stop here and let's see if we can make sure everybody's able to follow along. Okay, you guys are good? You guys are good? Good?
No.
Awesome. They're good? Good on the back?
Now I get a page.
Did all you need to do?
Okay, great. So,
Okay, great.
the second step, through the first step, you're going to be selecting the content. So let's just start with chapter 1. Everything's going to be auto-selected, but if you click this box at the top, it will auto-select or deselect. So a quick word about the assignments. There's basically 4 different types of assignments. There is an end of chapter quiz and a module quiz. Those are 2 types. So Brad was talking about module quizzes. You'll see them here in line with the section of the chapter, and that's going to be a module quiz, about 3 questions, just kind of getting students overview of what happened in that section. Then there's an end of chapter quiz, and that's going to be more like 20 questions for students. That's going to be right here at the very end. There's also writing assignments and then simulation. So what we recommend, and Brad, please feel free to chime in, is based off of the assignments we have. We would recommend you just use either the module quizzes or the end of chapter quizzes. So the writing assignments and the simulations we would more recommend for in-class activities for you to use, but for assessment to use either the module quizzes or the end of chapter quizzes. Yeah.
I'm using all of the module and the chapter quizzes, but last summer I went through all the shared writing assignments, knowing full well that I'm thinking back when I was an adjunct, there's no way that I'm going to, even now, I don't see myself taking 25 to 30 students, their shared writing assignments every week and grading those. So that's why I didn't even go down that road. You can still do that, but as you know, it's going to be a lot more work. The other thing is, I really do think you might want to go with, I would recommend doing both module and chapter quizzes, only because the module quizzes, if you give them several attempts, they build up to it. However, just be aware, it's going to be a significant change if they're not used to really reading the chapters. I just want to give you a warning, it's going to be like, whoa, I'm not used to this. But personally, I don't think they're benefiting if they're not forced to really get into the material. That's just me personally.
How many questions in the modules for a chapter?
In the modules, almost each module is like 3 questions, 3 or 4. It's not very many. And then, and I'll be honest with you, I went through, it allows you to go in and edit the questions. I went in because there's some, honestly, they're not good questions. Not very many, like I had before in other classes, but there's some that you would read and go, that doesn't make any sense. Or that's not something I think they need to be aware of in Intro to Criminal Justice, and you can delete it, remove it from the quiz. So you may have less than what they have, which I did. I significantly went down where some questions just were not applicable.
So how many questions were you averaging per chapter?
Averaging, I would say 15 to 17 is what I remember.
Okay.
Yeah. And,
Out of the modules, you mean?
no, out of the chapter quiz. The module quizzes, there's probably 6.
Because it's tracking what you're doing when you're inside of it. If students are going just straight to the assignment part, just doing the module quiz, it's just going to track them for those 6 minutes. Probably they're taking the quiz,
Right.
not the reading and the quiz. Yeah.
Even 6 minutes on a quiz is fast.
I would agree with that. Might be why there was a 65 on that one.
Genius.
Like,
Sheer genius.
That's Rob.
He works for the government now.
This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 module, 3 questions, 3 each, because I give them 3 points for each one, where they get 2 attempts. So
Okay.
that's just to give you an idea. And then this one, it's a 16-point quiz because I make them get, I only allow them 1 attempt.
Can you show us one of the quizzes? Just take a look at.
So here's what it would look at.
Okay.
And they get the 1 attempt, they know that. They go through here. I'm not quite sure why this,
It's just
How many minutes per chapter on the quizzes do you give, Brad?
pardon?
How many minutes per chapter quiz do you give?
Minutes do I give
Yeah.
them to do it?
Yeah.
I don't think
Okay,
it's
because
limited.
I limit mine to 2 chances, about 25 minutes each.
Yeah, I don't do the time, but I do
Okay.
the attempts.
Right.
Just because I know some students are,
Yeah.
like the one student.
Don't say it.
A little bit more challenging. I caught myself. Is that on video?
Yes.
Challenged. Yes.
Okay, is there any other questions about creating an assignment or assignment types before we kind of keep moving on? We're going to have breakout sessions for you to ask one-on-one questions too.
Well, just real quick, I mean,
Yeah.
if for some reason you didn't want them to quiz on all the modules, you'd say, just, I want you to quiz on just 2 of the 4 modules.
Yes.
Just-
Yes, you can. Yep.
And you can change that mid-semester too. Say, "Don't- this week is only going to be 1 module, don't worry about the.
And you won't have to even tell them that. You get to go into the system and just click on the box, and it won't have you do it, correct?
Yep,
So it's as simple as that.
Does it stay in order, the questions, so?
Yes.
Okay.
So let's just go ahead and walk through what creating an assignment would look like. So now that we've selected chapter 1, let's just say we're going to take Brad's method and we're going to do the module quizzes and the end of chapter quizzes. So you just unclick what you're not using. So in this case, it's the writing assignments. And then from there, you're going to select your due date. So remember, the first step was select content. The second step was select due dates. And the third step is publish. So from here, we're going to select our due dates. So this is what, where it's helpful, like Karen was talking about with your syllabus, is to have your syllabus ready and maybe knowing which chapter you cover which week. So let's just say we want to do August 17th. You click save. And then you'll get this little pop-up that says, success, your selection is saved. And then from there, you can either continue to create, select content and select due dates, or you can go ahead and publish. So if I wanted to do everything at once, I wanted to go into chapter 2, let's say, and do chapter 2, and unselect, etc. Then set a due date for chapter 2. Maybe I wanted to do the second week. Click save. You can keep going through that process of selecting content and selecting dates. When you're done with that process, you're going to click this Manage Assignments, and that will publish it. So what publish means is that your students can see it. And we'll talk about in the settings in a minute about the availability.
And let me just tell you right now, what you're experiencing right now is when you were a rookie officer and you had so much overload and you're like, what the heck? Trust me, after you get through this, the field training, it'll be ways, you won't even do this again except look at performance. You'll just have to look at that. Once you get this hard stuff out of the way, which is just learning it, which is the same way with me, I can sense, you're going to have that challenge, but once you have that done, you won't have to worry about that the rest of the semester.
You said you could load all these chapter and then publish them. I have that fear of, I'll get to the end and erase everything. So is it
You
okay
can do
to
it one
say?
by one. Yeah, and it saves it as you go along. So you saw that green bar up there that says success, your assignment is saved. It saves it as you go along. So that will help you. So when you're finished with it, you just click publish. Oh, sorry, more than 30 modules. Too many assignments must not reduce the size. Okay, so it doesn't let you do too many at one day. We'll do it. Okay, we're going to publish this one. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry, I went in here yesterday and I already published some of these assignments. So they're published. You can see here, it's asking me if I want to unpublish. I can do that, or publish. And once you're done with that, you'll click preview. And then you'll see those assignments are going to load up into this assignment page where the students will see it. Okay, so that's the process. You select the content, select the due dates, and then you publish.
But again, you definitely would want to check off
Everything.
of not having them do the readings and so forth. So it's only like the shared writing assignments, those things, where you're going to kind of do the opposite of what you wanted to accomplish, is have them read the text.
So here's the one we just made with August 17th, that's separated by date. You can see here, all that shared writings is off now. So it's just those, it looks just like how Brad's look, so when we pulled it up. Any questions about that before we move to the fourth item, which is course settings?
You know, I'm understanding the quiz and all that, but is this like, when you click on 1.1, does that go right to the quiz or does that go to the text too?
Goes to the text.
It goes to the text. So like Brad was saying, these are embedded within the text to kind of force students to read. So they can't actually access those quizzes until they go through this chapter. And of course they could scroll through, right, and just
Take the quiz.
take the quiz, but it's kind of, it's forcing them to get into the text. It's what the product is designed to do.
And the quiz is at the end of each module of the text. I see.
Yeah. So the next area is course settings, and we're just gonna cover this super briefly, and I'm just gonna tell you what Brad did for his, and please feel free to pipe in. What we did is set the assignment availability for 1 week before the due date.
I did that just primarily, is it okay?
Yes, please.
I did that primarily because you give them too long, then they just forget about it. But if I tell them right at the very beginning, understand that when you come to class, you've already been given 1 week to get your chapter done for the full purpose of when you sit down in my class, I'm expecting you to have read that chapter and be ready to discuss the material so that we're not going through the same things. I want us to hit the small chunks of the chapter. As you well know, there's way too much material. I want to take 3 or 4 main points and drill it in so that they feel very confident. So that's the purpose.
Yep. And you can change it if it fits different structure for yours. That's what we found worked well for this context of grad students. Assignment due time, you can select there. And then course time zone, just make sure it's set to central time zones.
And I just did my due time as when they came to class. So yes, there are going to be some students that come to, I can see them out in the hallway doing their last few quiz, but that's okay. They know it's due and when they come to class.
And then, so you can pick it I put it at midnight, Brad will put it at when his class starts. It's up to you as an instructor. Those are just some best practices. Here is where you do the scoring policy. So the essays you can see here, it's not applicable because we weren't using them. We don't recommend for the first time. You're doing your class that you would use it. Maybe after you kind of get into the product a little bit more, you would use it. But here we can see the chapter quizzes and the module quizzes, and they're set up 3 points each. And then 1 attempt for the chapter quizzes and 2 attempts for the module quizzes. And again, you can set this how you want to, but the thought process behind this and the why behind it is those chapter quizzes are going to be a little bit more higher stakes for students because it's end of chapter, it's a little bit more questions, it's over all of the content of the chapter, where the modules is more like, here's a little quick check of the reading that you just did. It's more low stakes, it's more preparing them for the chapter quizzes.
And I found this to be, so far, I found it to be a really good balance of points awarded, because it seems like you can't just ace this material like I saw in some different kinds of e-text. This one seems that it challenges them enough where it's going to more of a normal distribution of scores per se. Okay.
Just be aware that if you're going to open up your content at the beginning of the semester a week early, you still have to go in and manually open up Blackboard. Just because you're making this assignment open a week early, our institution, with the new integration, courses automatically open on the first day of class. So if you want to override that or you want to change that and you want to open up your first week early so your students can see it, you either have to go in there and open it, or you have to, if you want me to do it, just flip me an email. But just be aware of that. I just want you to be aware there's 2 different dates here.
And that's a good question, Karen. I don't have any of the assignments due until the second week, which is probably what you guys already do, but I talk to them about that first week, and then they know next week when you come to class is when your first chapter is to be.
Okay. I just wanted to bring that to your attention because a lot of
it is a good
faculty
point.
will give the first week here, go in, take a look at it, and I just want you to be aware that if you set that on here, that's great, but you still have to go into Blackboard and open it up.
Well, we're gonna just keep moving right along. I think Brad has already done a great job showing you guys the performance dashboard with the gradebook at the onset. The only thing I want to show you here is that at the top right is where you would download your scores. You just click on assignments, downloads the file for you. What we are recommending, best practice, and again, you can take this as you want. This is what Brad did for his class. So he used REVEL weekly quizzes. We talked about it. We have a recommendation that it's at least 20% of the grade in order to make it meaningful for the students. Brad put it at 25% or 100 points. And the reason we did 100 points is because students at any time, the REVEL gradebook sets it out of 100, and at any time they can go look at their performance dashboard and see where they are out of 100 points. So they can say, you know what, I'm at 80 points right now, or 80%. I know where I'm at with those points. And that's just a really easy way to do it. We do, there's different products do different things. We're recommending that we do not, you don't sync your gradebook from REVEL to your Blackboard. We're recommending you just do it this 100 points, and then at the end or midterm or whenever, students can always check on their own in REVEL, but when you want to add it to your gradebook column in Blackboard, you download that file that we just talked about, and then you just enter it into the column.
Yeah, this is super easy. I talked with Karen
But
just
you
about
still
trying-
have to create your columns manually.
Yeah, so
Right.
instead of trying to have it sync to Blackboard, which talked with Karen, she said not a good idea, just,
Well, what happened was, is I tried to push the grade sync, but it was, our IT department felt like it was infringing on some privacy issues. So I did originally have the API that I was going to install, and then I was told no.
so it's super easy. You just add a column to your grade center, title it REVEL Homework, and then at the end of the semester, you go into your REVEL and you look for each student. I mean, you go down, it's even easier than before. You can see, okay, I know Becca got 67%. Well, I made it 100 points to make it easy maths. He's going to get 67 points then. The student got 85%. Okay, then they get 85 points for that category for their REVEL homework for the semester.
So that's what best practices around the gradebook. Obviously, everyone has their own structure and syllabus, but in terms of if you want this to make an impact on your class, like in Brad's experience and what we're seeing, some research from around the country, making an impact in your class, we do recommend you have it be at least 20%. That's great. So that covers our gradebook best practices. The next item is about helping students register. In that flash drive that you all got, there is going to be a file in there that says REVEL Help, and a document in there with a Word document of handout instructions for how to register for REVEL, and then a video for how to register. So what I recommend doing is just going into that flash drive, pulling that content out, and posting it on your Blackboard homepage, and really that's all you need to do. It's got the tech support information in there. It's got how to upgrade from a 14-day free trial, and how to register. And that way it saves it from you as an instructor. Just go in, grab that off the flash drive, and add it to your Blackboard.
You want to show them what I put on mine?
Yeah, that's great. And one thing we do say, and I came into Brad's first day of class, and I'm happy to do that for anyone who's would like to use REVEL, or maybe even second day of class we found as helpful, is that Brad recommends, he puts all this here. He talks about the REVEL registration, that's going to be in your flash drive. Upgrade, temporary access, this video link is in your flash drive. I don't know if I put that in there. The mobile app, that's a really great aspect that we're going to talk about in 1 second. And then tech support information. And one thing I just want to make a quick note of is anything you can do to get your students not to choose the 14-day temporary access is great. students, it's a great feature that we provide, but what we found is that students wait till after the 14th day, they get kicked out of the system, then they have to call tech support to get back in, and now they're behind on their courses. It's a great feature to do, but if a student misses that 14-day, there is some headache on the student's end to go back in because they missed that access point.
What
So
I,
if
what
you
I,
wanna speak
what
to
I do,
that.
just to paint a picture of how it looks like, I don't have Courtney come in the very first day of class, because you're usually gonna have maybe 2 or 3 students if you found that don't show up for that first class. So I do syllabus, that kind of stuff, the first class. But the second one, I will arrange with the computer lab to have my class go over there, have Courtney sit in there with you, so that way you don't have to be as concerned about it. She'll walk them through it, how to get registered. That part's not too difficult. However, and I'm just being honest with you right now, whatever you can do to convince them, do not, I'm actually going to change it this next semester and just tell them, please bring your credit card so that you can, I'm not going to give them an option of the 14 days. And here's why. It gives them 14 days of free temporary access. That's great for 2 weeks. I send them emails, a countdown, I tell them in class, and still there's 2 or 3 students that don't pay for full access, and it kicks them out. So now they're starting to get behind on their weekly REVEL homework assignments, and it just is a big pain in the butt.
But what's the cost for the student?
Oh, this is
$75.
75. So it's very, and honestly, I don't tell them you have to get the loose leaf.
Yeah.
If we want to keep costs down, but some of them do like the loose leaf, that's okay.
Mhm,
But
sure.
I found most of them just do the e-text. It's
Yeah.
very inexpensive
Okay.
that way.
Also, okay, that's what I was gonna answer, this replaces the textbook then?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir. And you're really looking at the access codes key. You're going to start learning the
Right.
terminology that they'll explain, but the access code that they get with their little packet from the bookstore or through, they can do it online. It's just, they need to get, I recommend getting it through Pearson online. It's still the same price, correct, Courtney?
It just depends on the bookstore markup.
It's
Well,
no, I'm
cheaper
saying
than the
online
books.
though, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Compared to
Textbooks.
like Amazon, they can still do it.
Yeah, so we sell it direct from Pearson for $75. We do have other vendors who will sell, but we can't necessarily guarantee the markup that other vendors are going to put on products. So it could be $75, it could be $100, but we do sell direct to students.
And you still have additional, a final and a midterm?
Yes,
right,
sir.
In addition to this?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yep, and that one's given in class. But
Okay.
otherwise,
I see.
everything else is right here. And
Okay.
I hope you see the same thing I have,
Right.
because I can't believe the difference in their scores and their grasp of the material when they come to class. It's definitely different.
So kind of like what we were talking about earlier, this does, for students, it can be a text replacement. They can still get a physical book. We were talking about that earlier, and then just go in here to do assignments. But this is a little bit what it looks like for students. It's designed to be phone and mobile, iPad friendly. And I know like a lot of your dual credit students are coming in with iPads that they get from the high school. They can click in on the chapter here and read through all of the content. They can watch the videos here, they can listen. It's designed to be really mobile friendly, and students can download that app in the App Store. It's actually got pretty good reviews in the App Store.
Courtney, I just want to make a comment about that because students need to know that if they are doing any type of assessment on like a tablet or an iPad, that they need to be connected to the internet. Otherwise, those scores aren't going to go over.
It's a good point, yeah.
They
So
might think they're working in it, but they need to make sure that they have that internet connection.
students can work offline. They can do their assignments, they can read, they can do everything offline. But in order for that to submit and get to the instructor's side, they have to have that connection, internet connection at some point. Does that make sense? So if a student doesn't have internet at home, that's fine. They can work on it. When they get to campus, connect to internet, send it.
Then we wanted to make sure, because that was one of the pain points early on was, well, my student still needs to read a book and they don't have internet. when they're on campus, they have internet access, there's Wi-Fi, whatever it may be. Once they download the book, they have the full digital content inside there. So they can be in a bunker in the middle of the woods with no internet service and still read their textbook. So they always have access to it.
And that's one thing we're seeing, depending on students, is students are really connected to their phones now. You guys see that all the time. It's allowing them to provide a medium that is relevant to how students are approaching content now. The last thing that I'll leave you with before we do our breakout sessions, and Brad, again, already did a great job covering this, we do have this instructor resources folder here. That's going to have the PowerPoints, test gen files, all of that material already here. It's in your flash drive, but it also lives on this area. And then if you go to table of contents, under each chapter there's going to be a library of videos and interactive resources.
How about you switch
It
the
switched
accounts?
me-
That's fine.
It
Sign
takes me
in.
out of breath. We keep signing in and out of accounts. But that library will have videos, interactive materials that you can use in class. And then your student on their iPad is also going to have something reflected in that area. They're going to have flashcards that they can look on their area, flashcards, table of contents, videos, things like that. So I will pull this up. I don't think there's anything else that we need to cover in that area. I think something spunky going on with Brad. Is
Cookies.
we'll go ahead and start the breakout sessions. So please feel free to open up your courses. If you guys have questions or if you want to take a break and grab more food or whatever, go ahead and do that. And our Pearson team will kind of. Okay, so one thing that I wanted to mention as a follow-up before we kind of part ways today, if you take a look in your folder again and open up to that page where it talks about your Pearson team, and you see the pictures, the very last picture is Nicole Nutrier, and she's not with us. She's actually our customer success representative, and she is available for one-on-one follow-up trainings. I'm local and happy to do one-on-one in-person trainings, but she's just-in-time learning and can schedule follow-up trainings, and she's our course content specialist. So please feel free to reach out to her and me as a follow-up. Another thing as a follow-up from today, I'll also send out an email for you where you can, if you want me to come to your second day of class to do a class presentation like I did for Brad, I'm going to send out a link there that you can sign up for that. I usually do it on a first come, first served basis, so if you want to go ahead and fill that out for the fall, I'm happy to put that on our schedule. So thank you again for coming in. I think
All right, well, you know what we'll do though, no, stay here for a minute. If we have any questions, I know Bernie had a question too.
Yeah, well, what I'm concerned about, if I use this for the fall semester, on day one, am I telling the students, listen, you must buy this. I don't care whether you buy a hardcover book or so what is included if they go through, if they purchase REVEL?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm glad you asked that. I will also include that in that follow-up email. What students get when they get with REVEL is they can either purchase directly from Pearson and get access, or they can purchase an access code from their bookstore, and that just gives them a scratch-off code that they can put into the system. What we will also have at the bookstore is a bundle of both the print book and the access code together. So let's say you have a student who does want a print option, they'll have the option to have those together at the bookstore.
And so the ones who want that, are they paying more for the two options together, or are they paying one
Yeah,
price?
they will be paying, I think it's $30 more. to get the book.
To get the book as well.
But it's loose leaf, so it's not like an actual textbook where
Yep.
it's another 80 or 100, right?
Yep, yep, it's an extra $30.
And Rebel, the entire book is on Rebel.
And so students, and you guys might be able to help me out here, but students can also, in REVEL, if they want to add a print book at any time, can go and upgrade and pay an extra $30 and get the print book shipped to their house.
And the shipping's free for your students.
Shipping's free.
I think it usually ships, it's less than a week shipping, it's usually like 3 to 5 days.
So when they go to the bookstore, they're there to buy REVEL for this course. The textbook will be embedded in REVEL, and then whatever they want to do with the print copy,
Yeah.
they can do.
So I would recommend, even if you're not sure how you're going to be using this in your class, I would recommend that you still pair it to Blackboard, and that way, even if the students aren't doing the quizzes in there, or if you're not sure how you're going to be using the quizzes, students can still access all of that content, the videos, they can access some of those, the help exercises within the text, and use that as they're reading the book to help you out in their class. And it's a less expensive way than a print book.
Yeah, even if you're not assigning those, they're inside of there, so your students can at least do their own sort of concept checks as they're reading to go, oh, maybe I need to reread this section because I just bombed the concept.
Yeah.
So, but in that situation, they're just electronic again, right? Or they got a paper book and they're looking at Rebel on the Blackboard?
No.
That's a little
All
confusing.
electronic.
All electronic,
Okay.
yeah. So when I say Blackboard, you know how
Yes.
Brad opened it up and said, open REVEL?
Right.
That way it helps them with the registration process, so that way you're not getting pestered with questions from students that said, hey, I bought this access code and I don't know what to do with it, right?
Yeah.
You have it paired to your Blackboard, and then you have that folder in your flash drive with the instructions to post on Blackboard for students for how to register. Yeah.
And if you do create your grade book to match the Pearson stuff, when I copy or you copy your courses over the next semester, your grade book's already created. So you can use the same grade book. And all you have to do is go into the new semester and do your work on REVEL's side, but you can still use your same grade book that you've created in Blackboard. So.
Yeah, this is really about it's changing the experience for your students. So they are able, instead of getting a print book where maybe they barely opened it up and read it, they're changed their experience where they're now interacting with the text, they're watching videos. Even if your assessment on your side is limited, it's still making an impact on the student in terms of their experience with the textbook.
That's a good way to explain it.
Good. Anything else you want to plug in?
No, sir. I hope
No?
And I'm more than willing for you to ask me questions just on the technical side. Pearson, definitely Courtney's the
Go to
person.
Brad, don't overwhelm Brad. Come
But
on.
I'm more than willing to, and you'll want to tell your students that too. That's why the text, I guess that's one thing I'd say. With tech support, chat, all that stuff, you definitely want to tell them, go there, because otherwise they will. They'll email you, hey, I couldn't get in. Well, it's because you didn't do the paid access. You let that expire, and now they're trying to put it on you as an instructor. Don't do that.
Good observation.
One nice thing too is once you've taken the time investment to build this course out for yourself, and let's just say you teach this semester over semester, fall, summer, spring, whatever it may be, you can just copy your course. So you don't have to go, oh wait, what did I do last semester? You can just copy your course for the next semester.
Yeah. Exactly. So we talked a little bit about startup cost, right? There is initial startup cost. Hopefully we've kind of showed that it's an ease for startup cost. But once you do that, and you guys are kind of doing that anyways because you're switching to the 2017 book from the 2015, so it's a new book, new materials. You can then, after you do that startup cost, copy every time. You're going to save time over the long run. So.
Okay, good. Yeah, like Blackboard, once you're set up, you're in real good shape. You know, and we've gone through that transition. So, but what I want to do in closing this out, thank everybody for showing up. Especially thank Courtney from Pearson and Professor Brad Grossman, not only for being here today and working with Courtney to put this program together, but for spending a year entering this world of REVEL when it first came out. He was the one that stepped up and really got us going and is sharing his experiences with us. So we know one thing, we have Brad Grossman's
To blame.
seal of approval on REVEL
I was waiting
and
to
our
hear-
Pearson products.
I was waiting to hear you go the cop route and go, so we have Brad to blame.
Didn't say that. Also want to thank Karen Harold again for being our instructional technologist. I love that title.
I wish I knew what it meant.
Yeah. But Karen's always here for us, so those of you who see this later on, the resources are there, the people are there, so as you're putting your courses together and reviewing this, all the support's there, and hopefully it helps you get started.
Thanks
So,
for setting us up too.
yeah, thanks everybody, appreciate it.